Imagine falling asleep, being frozen solid for months, then waking up like nothing happened. Now, imagine doing that again and again for over a decade just to become a moth. This isn't science fiction. This is the real life of one of the toughest animals on Earth. Hidden in the high Arctic lives a caterpillar that has hacked time itself. While most insects rush through childhood in weeks or months, this one stretches it into years, in some cases up to 14. Not because it's lazy, but because the world it lives in barely gives it time. Every year, the Arctic summer lasts only weeks. That's the only window this caterpillar gets to eat, grow, and store energy. When winter returns, temperatures plunge and kill almost everything else. Instead of fighting winter, this caterpillar does something unbelievable. It lets itself freeze. Its heart stops. Its body shuts down. It becomes, for all practical purposes, dead. Then spring arrives, the ice melts, and it wakes to continue. So how does freezing not kill it? And why would evolution ever choose a life this slow and unforgiving? Before we talk about how this caterpillar survives, we need to understand the place that forced it to evolve this way. Because the Arctic doesn't reward speed, it rewards patience. The Arctic woolly bear moth lives in the high Arctic, places so far north that the sun disappears for months at a time. Winter here isn't just cold, it's long, dark, and relentless. Temperatures can plunge far below what most insects could survive for even a single night. And food? Food is only available for a blink of time. During summer, the Arctic explodes with life, but only briefly. For just a few weeks, plants grow, flowers bloom, and moss becomes edible. Then the sun dips lower, the temperature crashes, and the entire ecosystem shuts down again. This creates a brutal biological problem. Insects normally rely on long, warm seasons to grow fast, molt quickly, and reach adulthood before winter. But in the high Arctic, there simply isn't enough time. You can't rush development when you only get a few weeks of warmth per year. So instead of evolving speed, this caterpillar evolved something far stranger. It broke its life into pieces. Each summer, it wakes up, eats as much as possible, grows just a little, then freezes again when winter returns. Year after year, it repeats this cycle. Growth doesn't happen in one continuous line. It happens in tiny bursts separated by months of suspended animation. This environment didn't just encourage an extreme life cycle, it made it the only option. And once evolution commits you to waiting out winter instead of escaping it, freezing becomes a feature, not a failure. Freezing usually means death. When water inside a cell turns to ice, it expands, punctures membranes, shreds proteins, and destroys everything that makes life work. For almost all animals, once your tissues freeze solid, the story ends. This caterpillar is the exception. As winter approaches, the Arctic woolly bear doesn't try to stay warm. It prepares to shut down. Its body begins producing a biological antifreeze called glycerol, along with other protective compounds. These chemicals lower the freezing point of its bodily fluids and, more importantly, control how ice forms. Instead of sharp, destructive ice crystals exploding inside its cells, freezing happens slowly and in safer locations between cells. Think of it like controlled demolition instead of an explosion. The caterpillar is still frozen, but not broken. Then something even stranger happens. Its metabolism collapses to almost zero. The heart stops beating. Oxygen consumption becomes nearly undetectable. There's no movement, no growth, no activity. By every medical definition we use for humans, this animal is clinically dead. And yet, it isn't. The caterpillar can remain in this frozen state for months at a time, surviving temperatures reported as low as -70 degrees Celsius. That's colder than most laboratory freezers. Nothing is happening inside its body because nothing needs to. When spring finally returns and temperatures rise above freezing, the ice melts. Cells rehydrate, metabolism restarts, the heart begins beating again. The caterpillar wakes up and continues exactly where it left off, as if winter never happened. This freeze-revive strategy is safer than trying to stay half alive through winter. Any movement would burn precious energy, any mistake would be fatal. By fully shutting down, the caterpillar avoids starvation, predation, and cellular damage all at once. Freezing isn't a last resort for this animal, it's the entire plan. And once you can reliably stop and restart your life without consequences, time stops being a limitation. Which brings us to the most unbelievable part of this species. Here's where this animal truly breaks our idea of time. The caterpillar of Gynophora groenlandica doesn't grow the way other insects do. There's no smooth path from larva to adult. Instead, its entire life is a loop. Wake up, eat, grow a little, freeze solid, repeat. In a normal environment, An insect might eat continuously for months, but in the high Arctic, summer can be as short as 3 to 6 weeks. That's the entire annual budget for growth. Once temperatures drop again, development instantly stops. So each year, the caterpillar only adds a tiny amount of mass before winter slams the door shut. Over time, those tiny gains slowly stack up. But because the caterpillar spends most of its existence frozen, actual growth only happens during a handful of short summers. When you add it all together, reaching adulthood can take up to 14 years in the harshest regions. Some populations complete development faster, closer to 7 years, if summers are slightly longer or warmer. But in the coldest parts of the Arctic, evolution chose reliability over speed. Rushing development would mean dying before reproduction. Waiting guarantees survival. This also explains why the adult stage is shockingly brief. After more than a decade as a caterpillar, the moth emerges, mates, lays eggs, and dies, often within just days. The adult isn't built for longevity. It doesn't need to be. The entire life of this species is front-loaded into survival, not adulthood. It's the opposite of how we think life should work. Most animals rush childhood to enjoy adulthood longer. This caterpillar sacrifices adulthood entirely just to reach it. And that strategy only works because its environment allows one thing no other place does: time to stop. If this caterpillar only gets a few weeks of summer each year, then every second of warmth matters. And it turns out, it's incredibly good at squeezing value out of almost nothing. When the Arctic sun finally returns, the caterpillar doesn't just crawl around randomly. It actively basks. By positioning its dark, fuzzy body toward the sunlight, it can raise its body temperature far above the surrounding air. Even when the environment is barely above freezing, its body can warm enough to allow digestion and movement. That heat boost is everything. Warmer muscles mean faster feeding. Faster feeding means more energy stored before winter comes back. And winter always comes back. The caterpillar also chooses its location carefully. It lives close to the ground, often among rocks and low vegetation that absorb heat during the day and release it slowly at night. These tiny microhabitats can be the difference between growing and staying stuck in place for another year. And when feeding finally becomes possible, there's no wasted time. Its metabolism shifts into overdrive. It eats aggressively, converting plant material into fat and protective chemicals as fast as it can. This isn't steady growth, it's a sprint, because the caterpillar knows biologically that the clock is ticking. Then, without warning, summer ends. Temperatures drop, food disappears, and the caterpillar shuts everything back down. Growth stops instantly, no matter how close it was to the next stage. This stop-start rhythm would be a death sentence for most animals. But here, it's been perfected. The caterpillar isn't inefficient. It's optimized for a world where consistency doesn't exist. Every behavior, every movement, every calorie is tuned for survival in brief windows of opportunity. It doesn't beat the Arctic by overpowering it. It survives by syncing with it. And that strategy worked until the Arctic itself started changing. The Arctic woolly bear moth didn't evolve to be fast, flexible, or adaptable. It evolved to be perfect for one very specific world, a world that stayed cold, predictable, brutal, but stable. And that's the problem. This entire strategy only works if winters stay long and freezing, and summers stay short and mild. The caterpillar's biology is tuned to exact conditions. Its freezing tolerance, its timing, its growth rhythm, everything assumes the Arctic plays by the same rules every year. But those rules are starting to change. As Arctic temperatures rise, winters shorten and become less consistent. Freeze-thaw cycles happen more often, snow cover changes, summers become warmer but also less predictable. And for an animal designed to fully shut down or fully wake up, unpredictability is dangerous. Warmer winters can trick the caterpillar into reactivating too early, burning energy when no food exists. Less oxygen-rich cold can weaken its freeze tolerance. And a strategy that once guaranteed survival can suddenly turn lethal. This is the hidden cost of extreme specialization. The same evolution that turned this caterpillar into one of the toughest animals on Earth also left it with very little room to adapt. It didn't need flexibility for thousands of years. Now, it might. This tiny insect isn't just a curiosity. It's a warning. Life can survive almost anything: cold, darkness, even being frozen solid for years. But when environments change faster than evolution can respond, even the most extreme survivors are vulnerable. If you enjoyed this deep dive into nature's most unforgiving life cycle, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our next one, because the Arctic isn't done producing biological monsters yet.